Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Flashback 64, the chronological Nintendo 64 podcast. I am Gooey, joined as always by my co-host McKenna.
Hello.
Hi. We have a bit of a unique setup here. We've got our second time in studio guest, so we are actually joined right here in the same room, where I am at least, by our ZD pal Andrew. Hey buddy.
What's up?
Hey, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's been a fun time, fun 2 days hanging out with you. And we have a returning guest, and he said he would come back on if we got another guy named Andrew, but not the same Andrew from last time. He's fed up with
I made that very clear.
No, we're joined by Alex Duquette. Hey, buddy.
Hello. Happy to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you back on. We are, we're back to talk about Mario 64. It's, how could you not, a Nintendo 64 podcast, hit upon the soundtrack of the game? We talked about it a little bit in our episode, but before we do that, I guess it's sort of a thing we do with any new guests. So Andrew, you get to do this.
Oh boy.
Just give us what's your backstory, your history with the Nintendo 64.
With the Nintendo, I should have seen this coming, but okay. So the first two video games that I ever played were Ocarina of Time and Super Smash Bros. 64. And
oh my god!
So it's just been all downhill since then.
That's a good, that's a good first two.
So I'm an Ocarina of Time elitist. I'm not a Smash 64 elitist. I'm a Melee elitist, but
Melee guy right here. Yeah.
Oh yes.
Smash 64, really, I probably played that game the most as a kid with my brothers and sister even. So we put a lot of hours in there. I would mainly play Link because,
of course.
But I played like a bunch of N64 games because it wasn't actually my console, it was my older brother's console.
Okay.
How that usually goes. But
yeah,
like I've played a bunch of games, and then we moved on to the GameCube, and we're very Nintendo centric. But
are your siblings still like into gaming and stuff?
Yeah, my brothers are. My
Okay.
sister likes to watch people play games.
Sure.
She really enjoys that, like actively watching people play games. But she's never been much of a gamer herself. But yeah, no, we're all still gamers these days. I don't play as much games. I try to get some
that.
every once in a while, but pretty much since I started college, I've pretty much only played Melee.
Okay, that's
and like Zelda at the ZD marathons every summer. But the N64 was like pretty much my introduction to games, so it kind of sets the frame by which I have always looked at all other games, and in particular, Ocarina and like Banjo-Kazooie too.
Yeah.
And like some other, I've played a bunch of N64 games.
I like, so. Yeah, it's fitting you said Ocarina and Smash, because I feel like of games I've played with you, those are the two. Like, because I think at the Zelda marathon,
we've done the head-to-head.
Andrew,
a bunch.
Andrew is really good at Ocarina of Time.
Well,
not like there's
there's
like the crazy people.
There's tiers.
But of our but every time we've raced, like you've always been killing it, and Moss will like make you go do something else to like even the odds.
There was a certain point where I think his attitude towards it was I'm getting too good at the game. But now it's sort of a Royal Rumble format now, so I kind of want to get back into that.
Yeah, you have to.
Connor has a better time than I do at this point, so I'm on the cusp of sub 5. So
we also had an epic Smash battle at the marathon.
Yeah, that was pretty fun. I don't really play Ultimate, but that was and I got to play Banjo-Kazooie was like the last character that I had any like invested emotional investment in, like a character that I wanted to be in the Smash. Like I would like more Zelda characters, but Banjo-Kazooie was the one that I felt like it needed to happen. So so I had to play Banjo-Kazooie. So
It was very fitting.
Yeah.
I like what you're saying, like your first console. I feel like the one way the Nintendo 64 has kind of been a good, because we've been branching out, we've talked about now older stuff and like some newer stuff, and just in general, like we're having people on who like have played the N64 at different periods of their life, like depending on age.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's been a good I don't know, like starting point or like dividing line of like gaming history. Not even in half anymore because of how long it's gone on, but just a good, like, for a lot of people our age and like generation before and after, like it's a good measuring stick or something.
It definitely feels like the Rubicon getting crossed into 3D there. Like,
the Rubicon.
You have the post and the pre N64 eras in gaming in general.
So yeah, N64, great to hear you love it. We're going to talk about the Mario 64 soundtrack. But before we even dive into the soundtrack in general, I also want to get both you guys' history with that game. Alex, we have you on because you have done you've done a wonderful video on your VGM Quest channel all about the Mario 64 soundtrack. And we're going to be hearing some of your thoughts on it from here, but I just first of all want to tell everyone to go check it out.
It's a great video.
It's a great video. Great channel.
Thanks, guys.
But what's just like from your personal history with the game?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think if it was the first N64 game I played. I can't remember, but I have memories of being 5 or 6 years old. I remember my sister was just born, and my mom was getting some help from a friend of hers just because she was a single mom. And that friend of hers, there's pictures of us both playing Mario 64 because my mom took the picture. So like I have a lot of really early memories of that. I played so much of that. I played the crap out of that game. For me, it was the heavy hitters for me with the N64 games for the most part. It was that Ocarina, Banjo, like the big ones, right? And I remember that was that and Ocarina of Time, but actually Mario 64 a lot. I was thinking about this before we did this episode. I used to like, even as I got older and played that game, I played it a million times, like all of us have. But I remember like I was at a certain age when I don't know, a little bit older than, like 7, 8. I would play that game and I would just like run around and just do nothing, like that castle. Right, it's just you can just explore and let your imagination just fly. It's one of the reasons why I made my video with the theming that I did. It was just one of those games, there's certain games like that where you can just, even if it's not meant to be, like just run around and explore and do nothing and just make up your own games in your head. It's so colorful and just bright. It's just such a great game for it. You know what I mean? So I used to do that a lot.
We were just to kind of like, we had some time to kill before recording. And we were like, let's just put it on. We'll just kind of go to levels, listen to music, and mess around. And it is just kind of fun to like, the file we had, it had almost all the stars unlocked. So we were just like picking up stars we've already gotten. But it's just fun to go like goof around in the game.
It is. It really is. Not to mention all the crazy stuff people can do with that game with like speed running and glitching and all that stuff. Like it's crazy. The staying power this game has.
Yes. That's actually something we were planning. I was just talking to someone that I play music with, and I didn't know this, but they do some Mario speedruns and stuff. So that's another topic I'm willing to, we're going to probably broach. I'm planning, I want to, we did a lot of episodes like on GoldenEye, and I think Mario we might start peppering in. When we started the podcast, we didn't have this grand idea of like getting into deeper like parts of each game until like we got the response that we did, which was cool. But I guess that brings me, I have a question, McKenna, for you. I think we're just over like, or we're about to hit 1.5 years into the podcast, and I think Mario 64 has always kind of come back and been present. Like we streamed it with our pals. But for you, it was like a first time game. So I guess I'm just wondering, like, we got your thoughts on it. You ranked it. we replayed it with pals. Like, where are you at now with the game?
Uh, I do think I like it more than when I initially played it. I think a lot of the first time playing it was me trying to wrap my head around the controls, and playing it again, it was like I still had some trouble with the controls, but I felt like I was just able to relax and enjoy it a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And
For sure.
yeah, the also the experience of playing it with 5, sometimes 6 other people, just like switching between everyone and commenting on the play and watching everybody do their own thing. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's almost in the spirit of like what Alex was saying, where it's like you can all just sort of like share in the game, even though it's a single player game, because you like, I mean, and it was fun because we'd have different things we do based on like some of our friends are more of the thrill seekers, right? So they're firing up the the rainbow, or actually TikTok clock I think had like the most like dramatic moments on the stream, and so man. I think we're mostly making my brother suffer with the 100 coin challenge in that one, but it is like I think from being a kid to now and like having people who have all this experience with it, like no matter where you come at the game from, like it's just a great game to like hang out and exist in and like mess around in. So personal history, Andrew.
So I remember one of my earliest like video game related memories was when I was really young. Like, I mean, it was like right when, right after Super Mario 64 came out. They had an N64 in the game in like the youth lounge of my church, and I remember specifically like very vividly a very dark room, a TV like an old CRT hanging against the wall up in the corner by the ceiling, and like seeing Super Mario 64 there. And this was like before my brother had like an N64, before we played any of those games. So cool. that was the first game that I ever saw on the N64. And I didn't really play a ton of it growing up. I played a little bit here and there because my brother did get it, and it was always fun, but that was always one that it took me a while to get to to. I still haven't like gotten to it in the sense that I haven't like played through all of it, but over the years I've played like through a bunch of levels, and
it's so iconic.
Yeah. So like I'm familiar enough with it, like I recognize all the levels and even like some of the specific stars and stuff. So I'd say that I probably played like close to half of the game maybe. But yeah, it's definitely one of those games that's like I can tell how iconic it is just like immediately, like when I saw it there, and it feels like I have a closer relationship to it than maybe I should say that I do, because of
I get you. Yeah,
the level of familiarity, just absorbing it through culture in general, and it being a Nintendo guy specifically, I guess. But yeah, so it's one that it's just kind of been in the background for me, slowly getting more acquainted over the years. So one day I'll actually play through it, soon TM. But
I get I get how you can come at it from that though, because again, like when I was a kid, like I mean we'd play it with friends and like beat it, but like we would just a lot of times be just farting around in levels and like shooting out of the cannon and stuff like that. And well, I mean, we'll talk about it a little bit with the soundtrack, but I don't know when the first time I actually heard like the credits music of that game, like in my life. It probably wasn't like in the grand scheme of things all too long ago. Yeah. So I feel like a lot of people's like relationship, especially when you're younger at that age, like I was fairly young too, like is just like, it's not even like a game you beat, really. It's like a sandbox you play around in. Or to borrow a metaphor from your video, Alex, it's like your box of toys.
I did say that.
it was that's kind of how I almost viewed it at that time too. So no shade. Everyone's welcome with different Mario.
I mean, yeah, because I didn't beat the game till later. Like I would always get really close. Like I'd always get to like the last couple levels, but I never beat it until I was older. So it's same kind of thing. It's just, once again, it's all about, like you said, just the farting around in there, just having fun and just messing around. So
yeah, when you're like that young, you don't really beat games or levels or bosses. I remember,
God, yeah,
I remember like all the time when I was playing Ocarina of Time as a kid, I would like constantly like ask my older brother to like beat Goma for me. You know, I was like scared of the bosses. But I mean, like I was playing that when I was like I guess 5-ish years old.
Right.
That's how old I was, and I remember it took me literal years to eat, like, because I was that young, right? Years to learn that there was, like, it wasn't just like Young Link. Like there was actually like you go forward and there's all. I'm serious. It took like I was like 7 because I started when I was 5. Then I was 7. Like, oh wait a second, I can beat Jabu Jabu. I can actually go. I had no idea because I would always get stuck there.
It did feel like I was like that too. Like I probably beat the game after Majora's Mask because Majora's Mask came out when I was like 10, and so like that was probably more like you're getting into like actually putting some W's up. And so Ocarina of Time, I probably played up to like, well, I think I probably got to the adulthood. But I remember when I got there, it felt like for the longest time I knew about it, but it felt like this whole other world that I could never like reach. Like, when do I get to that game where I'm a grown up?
That's sort of the opposite with me, because like I remember like I played Majora's Mask too, shortly after that. But that game, like, because I was still so young, that one felt like so much harder and more more scary. And I was I didn't like really sink my teeth into Majora's Mask until when I got the collector's edition on GameCube. Still the greatest birthday present I ever got. But that was when I really dug into Majora's Mask. Even though like I still, I knew everything about Majora's Mask and like even adopted like my online moniker from it. Like the vibes were definitely there, but I didn't really play it until like much later. I was always like way more comfortable with Ocarina of Time.
I had the strategy guide, so it was
nice.
We had like a paperback Primo strategy guide for Ocarina of Time. That thing was so worn down. The binding like broke, and like my older brother like duct taped the binding. It got a lot of use.
A lot of love.
Well, I realize we're talking so much about Zelda now. So that's not for years to come. Okay.
We'll save this for the Ocarina of Time soundtrack episode. We'll wait for that one.
This is a top tier like Zelda nerd episode for sure. Like we have a lot of those. Obviously, me and McKenna are already kind of a powerhouse in that category, but you guys are not helping. No, I'm just kidding. All right, let's talk about the Mario 64 soundtrack, and again, I want to plug the crap out of Alex's video before we get into it, because we're gonna have morsels of it in here, obviously, but it's such a well made video that I think it's also worth experiencing on its own. So you could go listen to it right now, even if you want, or afterwards. But just be sure to check it out on VGM Quest.
Yeah, and pause the podcast. It could help provide context, and not to bring up Zelda again, but he's got another video on there about the Ocarina of Time.
That was my debut video. I had to start with my favorite. Thank you very much, guys.
Yeah, of course. You said something earlier about like the imagination aspect of the soundtrack itself inspired you to make your video the way you did. I definitely like felt that video, it like the vibe of the video really matched like the vibe of the soundtrack. And I guess what was your thought process there in making that video that way?
I just thought about, I don't know, I thought about kind of all aspects of it. I thought about the music itself. I thought about playing the game itself. And then I thought about my own core memories of it, which just involved a bunch of just, once again, more than actually going from level to level. It was just having fun. Then as we got older and my siblings grew up, they would watch me play and we'd make up these little games. And like while we played Mario 64. So I guess my own experiences were the biggest part now that I think about it. But that's kind of what made me go that route. Because then I thought, because another thing I do when I make my VGM Quest videos is I think, okay, how can I kind of like theme these together? How can I lump these together? And with a lot of these soundtracks, it's 30 songs with all different genres. So it's like, okay, how do you lump them together? And but then I thought, I mean, that's perfect. Like we all played it as kids, or not all of us, but you know what I mean. Like I would. That's kind of the theme I was going with, right? Like so many of us are nostalgic for that game for years and years and years, and I guess I just kind of naturally thought about the toy box analogy and it just kind of lended itself to it. Once I really put myself in that mindset of, okay, when you're a kid, everything is a new experience. It's really, it's extreme. It's very, like, your first time experiencing anything is, like, the biggest thing in the world. Like, your first time going to, like, Six Flags or something, or your first time going, whatever it is, right? So I thought, and all of these songs, I feel like, really take, like, things to, like, a really, like, this high level. So, like, when I think about, like, Slide, right, that did sound nothing like it, so let's pretend I didn't do that. I was trying to do the intro, the da 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 da, right? But I know I just went, so that doesn't really do any good for me. But
I thought there was a straight up a banjo and fiddles up in here.
Hold on, guys, let me pull up my banjo here. But no, but that, for example, is a great example. That is so, like, just ridiculous fast bluegrass, and it doesn't need to be, but it is. And when I think about that, and same thing with, like, and obviously we'll go through these songs, but, like, the main theme and everything, it all just seems so energetic, and I just feel like it's just as energetic as it can be, and I think that reflects how kids see the world, and as you're growing up. So that's just kind of how I tied it together, I guess. I don't know.
I totally agree. One thing I want to add on, because you did mention, like, the premise of the video is, or for like a good chunk of it is like almost like hearkening back to, our feelings of the game when we were a kid, and like almost like it's kind of like interplaying with the nostalgia that we have of it. And I think, there's a sense of, like, fun and wonder that we should say Koji Kondo, who composed the soundtrack. Goat.
Yes.
We've already, we've talked about him. Also, we've also talked about Star Fox on the show, which he did the soundtrack for. What I like about, again, just to go back to the video one more time and the overall presentation is, like, the video, it has a very, like all ages, like, it feels like, I mean this in, like, the best way. It feels like an episode of, like, Reading Rainbow. You know what I mean? Like, I was watching it.
Okay.
And it just, I feel like your presentation is very, like, friendly and welcoming. And I feel like if you were a kid who was just getting into Mario or Mario 64, like, you could watch this video and, like almost feel those same feelings without having them yourself, and, like, being in like a new fan of the video. So
sure. You know what's funny about that too? It's like I didn't necessarily mean to come into that with that tone, but it really fits. It does fit so well. I mean, because that's the game, right? Like, anybody can play the game. It's all ages, So, like, it really does just kind of play into the music, plays into the tone of the game itself and everything. So, yeah.
That actually kind of just, like, naturally emerges because, like, Super Mario 64 is like, I mean, it's childlike wonder in a game, It's so
exactly,
yeah. It does exude
soundtrack. It. So if you're talking about the game and its music, that's what you're gonna have to talk about.
And again, flip side, watching it as an adult, I don't watch it and feel like this is like this is like just for like pandering to kids. It's like it strikes the line perfectly, I think, where I'm watching it and I'm like reliving my wonder and curiosity of being 7, you know.
That is so nice to hear. I appreciate you saying that, truly. That's exactly that line that Nintendo, for that game and many games, has always ridden so well. It's like, it's not kiddie, it's not gritty, but like anybody can enjoy it, whether you're 5 or you're 50 or 100, whatever, right? Like, it's just that perfect line, and that's obviously that game is no exception.
Big time, yeah. So I just want to ask McKenna real quick. It's always fun to get, you know, your reaction to these, because like a lot of these games you're encountering for the first time. But I'd imagine, like many aspects of this game, you've probably encountered them in some form or another. But what was your like kind of initial musical reaction to Mario 64?
Yeah, I guess a lot of it was somewhat familiar. I think I remember we actually listened to the soundtrack just in the car before we started playing the game, and you'd like ask me like what kind of level do you think this is?
Oh, really? I didn't remember this. That's fun.
Like, I'd be like, is this a desert level? You know.
I
like,
listened to the soundtrack on the drive up here.
So yeah, the music, it all fits, you know, the levels very well. It's very diverse as well, but it all fits together. It does. I think maybe just sound, Nintendo 64 sound wise, you know, feel nostalgic to me, because that is like the first console I played, even though I didn't play the game at the time.
Sure. So just like those, you know, sound fonts or whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, it's all a lot of very catchy stuff in there. Stuff that every time we play, I got something stuck in my head for hours afterwards.
I mean, you had this experience more so with Star Fox, but I feel like you're kind of like diving more into Mario now, which is like not a series you've played a lot of games of, but I think do you think sharing, at least I think so, the same composer, like, even though I guess in Zelda you do get a bunch of different styles, like Alex mentioned, like an Ocarina of Time, but granted, they're often going for different vibes. But do you think, like, I don't know, do you feel that shared connection between those games musically?
Yeah, I feel like you said, I did feel it more with Star Fox.
It really stands out in that game.
Yeah, especially like some of the chords and chord progressions. I'm like, that sounds like Ocarina of Time. Like this is like a prototype. But listening to it again, I did notice like some of the DNA.
Yeah, there's a little bit less like swing and like bluegrass.
Yeah, I could hear it like more on the underlying chords.
Oh yeah,
you know? Yeah.
I will say too. I'll go on top of that and say that he also, and I actually mentioned this in I think both the Mario and my Zelda video, I talk about how Koji Kondo is just the king of writing these, even if they're short melodic phrases that just get stuck in your head, and there's so many of them. And Star Fox is no exception, right? Ocarina of Time isn't. Super Mario 64 isn't. That's something that a lot of other game composers, from my experience playing games, don't really nail. Like, a lot of other composers are really good at atmosphere and really like making you feel a certain way, but somehow Koji Kondo, especially at Mario 64, he writes these incredible melodies that like you could easily listen to in the car, right? And just listen to it, just jam to it on your own. But like, it's also not taking away from the game. Like, it's not too distracting either. It's such a,
totally,
I don't know how, it's just the perfect balance. I don't know. It's great.
I feel like, especially like in video game music in general, like as a whole throughout its history, like that super melodic and memorable stuff, I feel like these days you don't hear that as much, because like a lot of stuff these days in video games are like really orchestral, and it's not really punchy and melodic, like, and not really
ambient.
not really arcadey like it used to be. And like Koji Kondo, like really I feel like Koji Kondo is unparalleled in that, I feel like the only person who comes like close to that is like Grant Kirkhope. Like Banjo-Kazooie has like really memorable stuff, but the real like the thing that separates the video game music specifically, as opposed to just regular music of whatever genre, is like being able to make music that can be repeated basically endlessly, because it has the potential to do that, because you're like, it's looping in the background and you're doing stuff in the game, and you could be doing whatever for however long, and like being able to make a song that is not only memorable and like melodic and like has that it draws you in because of that, but that it doesn't get tired or like repetitive in a way that you're like, I'm done listening to that. That's like an impossible balance, and Koji Kondo like does it effortlessly, like in all the games he's ever like composed. It's really like Koji Kondo is a genius. Like I don't use that word lightly there. He knows what he's doing.
Definitely that totally sort
agree.
Of looping aspect was sort of something we talked about, and you mentioned Grant Kirkhope, but that's something that he and Graham Norgate had to do with the GoldenEye soundtrack. We talked about that a lot, and like how some of those songs would feel like like crazy how long they would go without looping, and you really didn't even always, when it would loop, it would sometimes feel incredible, because you're like, whoa, it hits this part again. But I guess I don't want to verge too far into the GoldenEye territory again. We'll be here all day, just like Zelda. But yeah, Koji Kondo, he is a genius. All the way back to, what was his first game? It was Devil World, wasn't it? McKenna, do you remember? A lot of his early games we have covered some. We did an NES like launch games episode, and he did Soccer, which we both really enjoyed the Soccer soundtrack. Of course, Super Mario Brothers. Golf, and I think Devil World he did sound design on. I think that was one of his earliest jobs, but he joined like right around the time like the NES and Famicom were kicking off, so he's like right there on the, well, not the ground floor of Nintendo, because obviously there was the arcade, the Donkey Kong people before,
there was also the 1800s.
And then like the
right.
Yeah,
I'd call the NES era the ground floor of
what we know
the modern
today.
Nintendo. Yeah, what we know as Nintendo. Yeah, he's one of the OGs.
Yeah, of course we had Gunpei Yokoi there making gizmos and stuff before he made consoles. But yeah,
we all kind of know this or heard this or whatever. But something to keep in mind too about the melody specifically that we can mention, especially if you're going to the NES era with Kondo, is that you only had, I don't know all the technical stuff with the technology side of this, but 3 or 4 tones to work with at once. So you had to make it count, right? Like you didn't have so like what they say, like when you're constricted, a lot of the times that's when the most creative things can come out of you. When you're under, all that sort of thing. And I think clearly that shows, because that's when he wrote Zelda's theme. That's when he wrote Mario Brothers and all that stuff. And these are some of the most iconic video game songs, period. And I think, and it's perfect that they still translate so well. So having that, I think, kind of limitation definitely, I think, has influenced probably his overall writing style for games in general, if I were to guess, because he started in that time when you couldn't help but only have 2 notes going at once or whatever, so you had to make it catchy.
That's sort of that Gunpei Yokoi philosophy of like game design. I forget the specific term, but the lateral thinking with withered technology or whatever it was,
right.
When you're limited, you're forced to really take things to the limit with the few resources that you have, and
right.
When you have only so many sounds to work with, you gotta really push things to be really melodic and memorable like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Super Mario Brothers theme song itself, I mean, this is kind of overstated, probably corny to say over and over, but it's kind of a masterclass of that. Like,
Yes.
it's such a dense, like, insanely composed song. McKenna, we've gone through a couple Mario games now. We've played Super Mario Brothers together. We've played Mario 2 together. There's obviously a couple more to fill in there, but do you feel like between them, like has there been sort of any vibes that you've picked up on going through these games?
A lot of it has like this jumpy, bouncy feel to it, which makes total sense because that it's Jumpman.
Oh yeah,
and it's just and then there's also a lot of more like mellow stuff going on too, that maybe is more in more less jumpy spots, like swimming, things like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, even as far back as Super Mario Brothers, I think of when you go underwater and it becomes like a waltz or whatever, and you're floating around. It is like
it fits so well.
Mm-hmm.
That's something Koji Kondo has said, like that the music and the sound design kind of go hand in hand, and that's why I think of like having those songs that really fit the rhythm of the gameplay, but also like tying it into like the little jingles or even like picking up certain items or stuff, like really blending that all together, I think is really crucial. I think, like even like that's why you see people like do like, oh, I'm playing the Super Mario Brothers theme on the guitar and they're being all showy off. They'll do the coin noises and stuff like that. It's like you gotta have all that stuff in it, or even like the little sort of jingles and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely like the bounciness is key for sure, and that goes all the way into this game. I guess we sort of mentioned the Mario Brothers theme, but I guess that's something I've noticed too, is like the games will share, and this is true in Zelda too, wouldn't you say, where like they'll share like kind of some iconic themes, but then for certain they'll pick like the really crucial points of the game to do like almost like a different sort of take on like that sort of vibe. So it's like kind of still new. So that's something I feel like this game really establishes when you start it up, because you start it and that's when you actually hear the Mario theme, but it's just on this weird screen. That's like one of the most lasting memories for me of playing the game. Is I had some neighbors who lived across the corner from me, and they had a gigantic TV, and it was like in the days where they were like this thick. I cannot imagine how heavy this TV was, but I'd go over there and we'd play Donkey Kong Country on it. And it was just it was incredible to see it like that. But then when N64 came out, they got Mario, and I just seeing Mario's like head like as big as me, and he's like yelling at you or whatever. He is like, it's a me. Well, he doesn't actually yell at you, but he's in your face right when it starts, and you're tugging on his face, and you get this. I don't know how would you describe this version of the Mario theme song? It's like,
I think I don't know. I think it's just like, I will say, I might have mentioned this in that video too, but it's such a great introduction to the rest of the soundtrack, because it takes this theme that no one's heard of any other way before that, and then it like adds these like crazy like syncopated drums, like it almost has like a slight drum and bass kind of like feel a little bit, like the drums do. And
it's
with like those
very 90s,
the steel drums. Yeah, it's very 90s, but it's like, but at the time, that's like cutting edge, cool sound, whatever, And I think it's like the perfect intro to it. And like I think the steel he's cool. You can stretch his face and everything.
Well, but Kenny, do you remember the video we watched where they showed those kids Mario 64, like one of those VHS tapes we watched?
Uh-huh.
And they're like, it's like, oh, sick, get him, Mario, get Bowser, oh yeah. It's
Yeah.
like, that's just
So
like
awesome.
the attitude of the time,
Definitely.
everything, even Mario's got to be kind of as like, a little bit of edginess, playing
Right.
Legend
loud.
of Zelda, and it's pretty rad.
Well, that's another galaxy on its own, man. So yeah, it's like both chill but energetic at the same time, and like just the fact that it's like you're here, like I don't think I'd heard Mario speak. I think this is Charles Martinet's like first like game he worked on as Mario, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay. So, and then like the messing with his face, it was just so unreal, and like the cutting edge music, it really felt like, man, 3D, like this is crazy. We are in a whole nother world. And I think it was smart to use the Mario like theme to establish that. But
Yep.
like, I feel like what's cool is like, if you look at all the games up to that point, they've all had kind of their own like overworld theme. Like they didn't just reuse the Mario theme like throughout the game. They might slip it in various places, but like Mario 2, 3, World, all that have their own very iconic, catchy, very Mario though sounding theme, like of that sort of nature. And like he did that again in this game and has continued to. But I guess that's kind of the first like big song I really wanted to talk about, was sort of the theme of this game. We hear it in I mean, what level does everyone associate it with? You had a kind
Bob
of
on Battlefield.
Bob on
Yeah.
Battlefield.
That's like the default.
Okay, you said you were thinking Whomp's Fortress.
Well, we were playing
Oh.
the game earlier, and we were playing the levels, and I was saying, as far as the level goes, the first like image when I think of Super Mario 64, the first image that comes to mind is like that first part of like the Thwomp Tower level.
Yeah.
Like that's what I see in my head the moment. But I mean, if you're talking like a song, I think the primary song, that's at the top of the list when you think about Super Mario 64 is definitely the Bob on Battlefield theme.
Yeah, I always think of it as the theme for that, even though it's reused. But I mean, I guess you got Throwback Galaxy, and Mario Galaxy takes that one, so maybe that's them choosing a side. But McKenna, I feel like this is one I feel like we jam out to all the time.
Yeah, that's very easy to get stuck in your head.
Oh yeah.
It's so bombastic.
That's the perfect word for it.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, just you that comes on and you're just like bopping along to it, grooving along
is
to
a
it.
bop.
Yeah.
So good.
It's like the platonic ideal of that idea about the childlike wonder, playful, bouncy, kind of very colorful, bombastic vibe that
Oh,
it's
yeah.
got-
that Mario in general really is about. Like in relation to Zelda is a bit more, a little more serious. I mean, it's still playful and stuff, but like Mario is like, you go into a lab and create the most video game, then like Super Mario 64 is what pops out.
You're bouncing. It's like you're on a trampoline.
You're bouncing, but there's like this little tiny, like in that song particularly, like that funk edge. There's a little funk going on in there. Like I always think of the ba-dum-bap, da-dum-da, da-dum-da,
It's like
that part.
grooves,
That's so.
yeah.
It just kind of has a groove to it, and then it goes back to the, just the more the dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. It's so good.
Yeah, George.
I love the
George
different parts of
Clinton's
that
about
song.
to pop out at any moment.
It's one of the ones that benefits the most from like when you hear like a live band do it. Like oftentimes they don't even like change much about the song. You know what I mean? It's just like hearing it played live, and like everyone's like just super in the pocket, in the groove. Like if you get a good like live kind of big band version, there's a lot of those out there, and it's so satisfying to like hear, especially when they like really will emphasize some of those like really good parts, some of those like crucial hits, and you're like, oh, it's so.
I feel like that song in
Right, it's
particular
good.
really lends itself well to being played by a live band, especially
Oh, yeah.
compared to other other Super Mario 64 songs.
Yeah, because it's one of the. I feel like all the other ones take like I feel like they're enhanced a lot more, and I like the N64 sort of sound font in this song, but I feel like the other ones take more advantage of like being more of like these like, you know, the 90s, I guess the drum and bass, like, you know, sort of electronic music influence, where this one just does straight up sound like a big band kind of song. So
I just wish there were more tracks in there that really had that vibe, just because it was just so good. That's all.
It is. You point out in your video, like, this is kind of the theme for the game, and I feel like they reuse it for some other songs, like, subtly and appropriately. Like, I love the snow levels kind of use that melody. The slider theme you mentioned it's raging, and of course when you start the game it kind of like presents it, or like when you actually start your file and you're coming to the castle, it sort of presents that. So
that's something that I don't know about you guys, but I didn't know that until way later, that like it's that melody is the same exact melody in both of those other songs. Like, it is not even, I mean, it's the same exact thing, just maybe a different key or a different tempo. And I played the game for years and never knew it, you know. And then a few years ago, I discovered, oh my God, all these different songs still have, that's the theme. I mean, like but it's still hidden in such a nice way to where it's not obvious that you're listening to the same melody again and again, you know? It's great.
That's the exact moment, I feel like, as a composer, when you should do that, when you know that you can get away with it, and it's like, it's subtle enough that nobody realizes it until, like, you know, 20 years later.
Right.
They're like, wait, those are the same notes? What?
Yeah,
it still feels like a completely different song. Like, you wouldn't do that if you know, it was obvious that it sounded like the same song.
Yeah, I think because they chose such different sort of vibes for it, and it makes sense for those to be the levels that do it. I guess like Snow is a very distinct vibe, but I feel like it was very. I think it was a good choice because it kind of keeps the upbeat nature of it. Just, you know, kind of at the like sort of the break. There's like a little breakdown in there that kind of takes it away, and it makes you sort of forget, and then it comes back. You know, so. Really well done. Well done.
Does feel like a movie score thing where you have this one theme that you're hearing lots of different times throughout the movie, but like maybe one time you're hearing it full orchestra, another time you're just hearing like a little piano play a few notes of it. Just like totally, you got the theme, but it's totally different vibe.
Yeah, a motif.
Yes.
That's right. Yep.
It's there in the beginning. I like just the way they established the game with the title screen, that theme in the beginning. Actually, even just before that, my favorite track in the game, the File Select song.
Hell yeah.
Yes.
That it just like I can't even put words to like the vibe it puts me on. It takes me to another planet when I hear it. Like it's like you described it as pan flute in your video, but I think like that specific like sound font on the N64, like that maybe it's the nostalgia in there too, but it's like it doesn't sound exactly like a pan flute, you know. It just sounds like out of this world. I can't describe it.
It sounds it's one of the most warm blanket nostalgia songs that I can think of, and I don't know why, but it's so comforting. It's crazy.
Yes,
it is. It really is. I had a friend of mine watched the Mario video, and he commented on it, and he said, I never played Mario 64 growing up, but File Select makes me feel like I played Mario growing up. Like like there's something about like that song, like it's so something about it just represents, I guess, that nostalgic childhood 90s feeling, I guess, just perfectly somehow. I don't know how. It's magical. It really is.
Into your brain.
It does.
It burrows
and it's
so
short.
Deep
it's like 15 seconds long.
It burrows so deep that it
it.
makes you think that you've heard it before, and so it feels familiar.
Yeah, McKenna is a purveyor of chill vibes. Where are you at with this one?
Definitely some chill vibes, but I've been replaying the virtual villagers games, and they all have like pan flute soundtracks, and listening to it, I'm like, this like fits perfectly along there. Like you
Your
could have a
pan
little
flute
like
vibes.
Mario skin virtual villagers.
Oh, okay. I like when we get into new game pitches. But,
Just like I feel like I'm on an island with Mario.
I feel that when I play Spirit Tracks because of the pan flute. No, but no, I'm not. I'm not vibing actually with the pan flute in that. But yeah,
Hey, I like
You know, they have nice
we-
songs. It's hard to play, but the songs are nice.
we can't get into that. No, we can't. You know how I feel when I hear that song? I feel like I'm in one of those Corona commercials where they're like chilling on the beach or like whatever. But that beach is like in outer space. If that makes like I'm in like a Star Trek like beach planet. You know, the sky is purple and I'm just vibing and you know there's Koopa Troopas around or something.
what is the sky but the beach of the planet?
Oh no.
Wow. Don't blow our minds right now.
One more thing on like the sort of like because I like that with the title theme and all that is sort of like the packaging I feel like of the soundtrack and it's all tied together with we've talked about the castle itself. It's sort of like it is sort of like the toy box itself that you're going around and exploring in. I just think like that Peach's castle sort of theme there's almost like that combined with like the sound design. There's sort of like they do a really good job of like making you feel like you're often in like a echoey room and like the song sounds like something you would play in like a concert hall or something like that. And it always feels like I always imagine it, you know, like coming in through a speaker of the castle. But
Yeah.
I don't know what else is there to say about Peach's castle.
That's sort of another aspect. Like I think the other like primary aspect of Koji Kondo in particular is really good at it. Of video game music is matching, you know, what's going on in the game. Like that's probably like the core defining feature of video game music. You know, as opposed to just you know other popular music or you know music that you listen to or that has lyrics and stuff, but like matching like the levels and the vibe and really cultivating an atmosphere and complementing the gameplay itself, and like the file select theme and the you know the atmospheric castle music and stuff. Really, it's again Koji Kondo doing the masterclass in all the games that he does.
Oh yeah,
you know he does that super well, and
It's sort of like this warm packaging around you know a lot of these level themes that are a bit more in your face, you know. But it's nice to like be sort of like it sounds like the song almost sounds like it would play in like a museum, you know. You're looking at the paintings.
It does. Yeah, I love I'm glad you mentioned the reverb because I think that plays a bigger role than we give it credit for actually. Just the reverb in that because a lot of those songs I don't think have a lot of like delay or reverb or anything,
right.
But that one does. So like it stands out. It's just the strings, right? That's all it is. And you could if you listen to like cuz you can like listen to the high res version at places and stuff, so you can really hear more of the artifacts that are kind of lost and if you actually are playing the game. So like if you listen to the higher res versions, yeah, I mean you can hear that reverb and it just makes it sound like it's a giant castle that has so many different places you can go. And so he was a genius for really considering that, especially at that time. And then yeah, the music itself, it sounds regal. It sounds like you're about to go see the queen, you know, like it, you know what I mean? Like it really just kind of has that vibe and it's got this curious element to it. It's just, yeah, it's good.
It does sound like you're about to go see the queen, and it plays right before that intro theme when you're reading Peach's letter, McKenna, where she's saying like, "Hey, I made you a cake," and it plays the do do do
Right.
do do do.
Which is the perfect thing too.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just thinking it also has that kind of like bouncy, almost plucky sound, like you're about to go on an adventure. You're getting ready. You know,
Really
it's not
setting
quite
it
as like you know, crazy upbeat as some of the levels are, but it does have the little bounciness.
It's like the warm up. It's like the warm up to the levels. It's
yeah.
like we're bouncing kind of lighter, but we're about to bounce really
some,
hard.
like,
Just
slow
you wait,
jumping jacks.
Right, exactly.
We have some other I want to mention real quick. I mean, we can say as much as we want about these songs, but just some other of the classic Mario themes that are brought back. I think appropriately. You've got Hazy Maze Cave, where it's like the dungeon. What was it called? Dungeon Cavern? I don't know.
I think it's like a cave dungeon is like the name.
Okay.
I think it's Cave Dungeon, yeah.
Yeah, of course.
That's one of my absolute. I think that's probably my second favorite song on the entire soundtrack behind Dire Dire Docks, obviously. But
that underground Mario theme, another incredible theme, and they've reused that throughout the series. I feel like it's probably in more games than like up to this point than like the actual Mario theme, because like they'll throw it in like Mario 3. I think it's the underground song too. Maybe I'm speaking out of pocket here, but again, just a very appropriate like the 90s take on this thing, where we're throwing in we've got the slap bass now, and it's got these cool synths like,
oh yeah,
and when you're going
it's
underground,
got a big stealth vibe to me. Like it's got a kind of a stealthy kind of feel to it.
Yeah, so like a big standout memory for me is going down in that elevator to see the Loch Ness monster, and this is something worth pointing out too. Is there's a really notable one, but the song, I feel like this song changes, right, depending on where you are in the game. Like certain songs are triggered like at certain points, like they'll change a little bit, which I think this is kind of like an early version of this. And I think when you go like under to like see Nessie and stuff, I think that's where it starts to go like ooh, like the weird part.
Oh yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
There's a more notable
kind of creepy sounding synths. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
so very cool. And then obviously like another thing that I think has been in pretty much all the games, and so it's like, how could you not include it? And these are the best versions of them, I think, is when you get the power caps, and it's got that star, the classic star theme, but they've got their own sort of takes. In particular, the metal cap one is off the charts. Like,
yeah, I would say there's some crazy stuff going on with like the layerings of that synth there. Like it makes a sound that just sounds so otherworldly. Like you
could be bumping that in the club.
It's so enjoyable, but it like feels like you're like on the edge, like you need a cigarette or something like
it's almost too much.
It feels weird. But in a good way. Like it captures the vibe of what the metal Mario really needs.
On the beach planet that I'm chilling on, that's playing at the club that's open until like
for sure, yeah.
But then on the flip side, like the Vanish Cap and the Wing Cap version that they share, it's that same song, but it's so like whimsical and like.
That's a good tie-in. I want to bring up back to like the kind of the theming around like childhood wonder and imagination and just kind of the essence of being a kid and stuff. When I think about Metal Mario, I feel like I almost mentioned this in my script, but then I took it out. And I was gonna have some analogy about like a kid who's just like hyped up on sugar or like caffeine, like you just drink. You know what I mean? Like when you're a kid, your energy is just unmatched.
Yeah.
So like, and I feel like Metal Mario just totally matches that vibe. Like if you go from that lens, and then vice versa too with like the Wing Cap, like that version. It's very just a great example of just wonder, just wanting to explore the world around you just when you're a kid and stuff. Like which fits the level too, because you're flying around. It's just so magical, that sort of thing.
I really like how in like the metal, I can't remember off the top of my head exactly how the flying and invisible themes work with the classic Invincible Star theme.
Mm-hmm.
But like I know in the metal Mario Cap theme, that's like in the background. It's like do 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 do.
Yeah.
But on top of that, you have the dun 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 dun, dun. Like
those orchestra hits.
That's sort of like taking center stage and driving it, but it's still like that invincible theme there.
Oh yeah. That's how it is in those too. Like in the when you're flying with the wing cap, it's got this like string melody over top. That's
yeah.
Da, da, da,
That's sort of one of the other ways of like bringing back those old melodies, but keeping it fresh and new. Like it has that melody there, but it's not just the same thing. It's bringing its own unique flavoring to it with its own like lead melody that's different.
Yeah, I mean, it ties into...
That's the genius of Koji Kondo.
Yeah, it is sort of the line between, like, that sort of sound track versus sound design, because, like, I think of that as more of, like, when you get a star in the games, they don't last very long, so it almost feels like it's, like, a little jingle that plays almost like a sound effect, but it's obviously a song, and it's very musical, and... who doesn't get like I just start running when I get a star in any given Mario game.
Yeah,
I mean, we were just going through that in Mario 2. You get a star, you gotta book it.
You gotta try to kill I gotta make good use of this. I gotta rush. I gotta hurry.
So that's sort of I talked about like the framing songs and then like throwback songs, but obviously the soundtrack has a bunch of just like classic bangers, and in the case of like more unique levels, or not unique levels, but like more distinct vibes that almost require an extra touch, and I guess the way I wanted to do this part is I sort of want everybody to talk about some of their other favorite tracks. We can maybe go around. McKenna, if you'd like to, what's your standout song in this game that we haven't talked about, of course?
I want to give a shout out to the Piranha Plants lullaby.
Okay, yeah.
It feels like a lullaby. I'm like, I want to listen to that while I'm going to sleep. Like I listened to that, and I remember getting there in the game and being like, all right, I just want to stay here for a minute and relax.
Just don't move too fast.
Yeah, just go slow.
I like too. It's like it's longer than you think. Like, right? Doesn't it throws in like a little melody after it's gone on for a minute, right?
Like a little like faster, like do 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 do. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't expect that to like come in, but yeah.
Yeah.
That's again. The game has a bunch of like little songs like that they slip into parts too. Like I think of that, or like when you're on that merry-go-round. There's some of these little things that are, or like going up the steps, like
parts that are like very specific to.
That's so panic-inducing.
It's like almost Guardian-esque, Breath of the Wild Guardian-esque.
Oh yeah,
that's a great choice.
Yeah, it is.
Andrew,
you seen the Infinite, like the stair steps one where it like does that like psychological audio trick where it right. I think maybe that's just what the song is, but there's one where it like loops in forever.
Yeah. Like it does that, doesn't it? Or no, it doesn't loop forever, right?
I don't know.
How does it work?
I can't remember if that's just the song itself or if this is like a thing I saw online.
Well, yeah, I mean, it does loop forever because it's a very short phrase, and then it just repeats, like within a matter of like 9 seconds or something. But the way the notes are played, I think they're in octaves, so like just going up. So by the time that the lower note of that octave is higher, it sounds like it's about to start from the beginning of the high note of the first part. So then it just kind of it's an easy loop.
Genius
sort of thing.
Yeah,
I know, it's crazy.
Song wise, I think. I mean, I obviously mentioned Dire Dire Docks, but I feel like that's like the lazy answer.
No, we got to talk about it.
But it's so good, though.
Yeah, we should. But talking about sort of the non-obvious answers, I really like Koopa's Road. That sort of like it starts with like the Bowser's theme, but it has like the really it really plays on this this edge between like this sort of anxious kind of like you're heading toward Bowser kind of, you're getting sort of the end stage, but it's also like really serene in a weird way. That's one of my favorite songs on the soundtrack.
Did I say I have a favorite song yet, like, at all of the ones we talked about? Because that is my favorite song.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah.
Like, I love that.
Oh.
it's like the Bowser levels, right? Like leading up to him, right? I love the way, I don't even know what it is, that main like melody line. It sounds like ethereal. I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah, that's a great word for it.
It sounds like, especially like the level design, it's so like abstract, and it's like, there's Bowser in the dark world, or Bowser in the whatever, in the sky, or something like that. And it just, there's something like otherworldly about it. I feel like I'm doing the obstacle course section of the space resort that I'm like on or something. But I don't know, there's something like really that captures me, just about specifically that main sound of that main melody, like really sinks its teeth into me. I don't know.
I don't know why, but
and Cave Dungeon too, or like
Cave Dungeon.
Yeah, that I feel like I'm ruined now that every time I hear Cave Dungeon, I can't help but think of the Half A Press video. And just like whenever I see, that level, that's what I think of now. Even though like I love that song, but before that, just unrelated to it. But
just someone struggling to beat that, yeah.
But yeah, no, that's one of the, I think, more creative songs in like the whole it has a good like different sections where it bounces between different vibes of that normal like underground theme, but then it has that I don't know, bridge, I guess is the term for it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But
the way stuff's reused in this, I think we could also compare to like how it was in GoldenEye, where it's like, and that was even more like reusing that same theme like over and over, but it doesn't feel like the same song. I feel like pretty much any time that happens in this game, like you said, Alex, like you don't even notice it. Like you didn't notice it for so long. I didn't notice like the main theme being reused until I was much older too.
I want to give a shout out also to Cooper's Road, specifically the intro, just the da 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 da, like just to kick it in. It's just so scary. I love it.
That almost reminds me of that Who Wants to Be a Millionaire sound effect.
Oh, I will never unhear that now. Oh my god.
Yeah, I tried to like imagine it in my head, and I heard it exactly as
me too.
that just occurred to me.
Talking about a great atmospheric song. I love the bump 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 bump. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? When it's like,
that's not in Mario. What are you talking about?
We don't have time to get into Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Yeah, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? That's another.
Though maybe we can on the show eventually, McKenna. I think it came out. On the
N64. Is there a Who Wants to Be a Millionaire on N64?
No, I think there's a. Okay, we can't do this.
There is some Who Wants to Be a Millionaire
PlayStation
games,
has it. PS2, I think. But okay, Alex, any other favorite tracks that you got?
Once again, we need to talk about Dire Docks.
Yeah.
But we all know that's like just because that is probably my number one. However, I'd probably say my second favorite, and this became my favorite actually just when I wrote the video, and it's Bowser's theme. The da 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 da. It sounds like a hard rock song from like the 70s or something. Like I love it so much, and it's so out of left field compared to anything else.
Yeah,
like it's so good.
If it's Koji Kondo, is like people always talk about, he's like big into like Deep Purple. So
it sounds very Deep Purple.
Yeah, actually,
I know Deep Purple. Yes.
Isn't there's a Deep Purple song? It's one of the ones where like there's a snippet you can play, and it's like that is the Zelda Underworld theme.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like I think it's Deep Purple. Maybe it's a different band, I think. But anyway, he is into like that kind of hard rock from the 70s. But
that makes sense.
There is something about it. It's got a fun tone too. Like it's almost like a little. I don't know if like cheesy is the right word. But just imagining Bowser, like Bowser, not until like the end when you encounter him. Like, I don't know. I guess as a kid maybe, but like now I think of Bowser as like kind of a silly guy. You know what I mean?
Right. He's trying to be cool.
Yeah. I get what you mean by cheesy.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you're right. It's not like quite the exact word, but it's definitely it's giving
like not in a bad way.
Yeah. No. It's
it's got goofball energy.
Yeah, it's a little goofy.
bit.
It's a little silly. It's a
like,
little.
Hey Mario, like I'm gonna kick your ass, man. You know, like, I don't know. I love it. Yeah, that's a great poll. I mean, we can mention the final Bowser song is awesome too. It sounds like freaking you're fighting Dracula in Castlevania or something.
Yeah.
You know.
Mm-hmm. It's also a weird choice compared to the other two encounters you have with him, because the other two are just hard rock with this weird goofy feel, and then the last one just turns into just like
he's
teleporting.
Like he's Dracula. Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't turn into a bunch of bats or something. You know,
I know.
Okay, we'll talk about it, but I guess this is like one of the only ones where I think we're talking about every main song in the soundtrack. So good job, us. I don't know if we quite got there with GoldenEye, but McKenna, I thought you were gonna say Big Boo's Haunt.
I do like that.
Just sounds like that the whole time.
You know, it does have that more atmospheric sound. I do I'm a big fan of spooky stuff.
I don't think I realized till like playing it, like listening into a car, like how menacing it really was. You know, like hearing it in like full like surround sound, you know, like speakers. It's like you really hear how you did the it's like horrifying.
Right, just boo, you know.
Yeah.
I can't disconnect the piano sound from that. I always just hear the of the piano, like the evil piano thing, whatever. I cannot untie that sound from that song.
That's it. That one is like a masterclass of the sound design, because when you're outside, it's all windy. It's like the merry-go-round obviously is a big part of that too.
Nothing spookier than a merry-go-round.
Oh yeah,
haunted merry-go-round.
That song is spooky.
All merry-go-rounds are haunted, Gooey.
I think you might be right, actually. Yeah.
Why do you think it's turning around?
Just
cycling.
And then Andrew, you took issue with Lethal Lava Land.
I did not take issue. No, this is cap.
The song is written for both.
We were playing earlier and we were in the lava level, and I was just like,
I should be in a desert level.
Yeah, this is more desert vibes, and it is the desert music too, but
it's pretty classic desert ass music.
I feel like that's I mean, it makes sense, like you can get away with it, but that's one of the reusing ones where I feel like they could have come up with a specific unique lava theme probably, but I mean it works for the
it works, it fits.
Out of all of them, it's the closest one that would work if you had to reuse a song,
right,
you know, like it's the closest one.
I mean, it's hot. You know, it's really hot.
Right.
You're scorching just like this closet. You're sweating it up.
Okay,
I will say that's probably out of like the main level songs. That's probably my least favorite. I just feel like it's the least creative. It seems kind of more obvious, right? They have like that kind of sitar sound and all that stuff. Like it's just okay, yeah.
It does what it's supposed to. It just kind of seems
a little less inspired.
But it's not like drawing me. Like I'm not putting that one on repeat in the car or anything. I've listened to that 10-hour version of Dire Docks just doing random crap.
Right. Well, let's talk about Dire Docks.
Oh yeah, we've been dancing around it a little bit because
we
know where we're all.
We all brought it up.
But
yeah, exactly. I love how we each brought it up and then said, "Okay, not yet. We're not gonna talk about it yet."
I didn't even intend for that to happen, but. Yeah, McKenna, I'll let you go. Like as this is like I guess a newer track for you, but I feel like you've probably encountered this song before as a purveyor of the chill vibes and just Nintendo in general. Like I'm sure you've vibed to this track before.
Yeah, I assume I've heard it in like a Nintendo music compilation video or something, but. It was, I guess, more recently that I could put a name and a game to it. This is a great song. Like, if I had to put on one song, pick one song to listen to from this soundtrack, it would be this. And I always like listen to the more vibey songs from game soundtracks. I was earlier. I was telling you, like, I was listening to this morning, and there's a part of it. There's like one chord in particular where it reminded me of the Star Fox 64 like game select screen, which is like
off the charts,
an awesome,
and the vibes.
amazing,
So
yeah. But yeah, really, really good vibes. Like, oh, I just heard the chord I was talking. I have it playing.
Oh,
I've been listening to all of them while we've been talking about them.
there's
But
something
it
about
just
that,
it slows it down. So when it gives you that feeling like when you're in water and you're in slow motion.
It's another one of those songs that has a great like sort of B section, the little bridge, where like this slow build up of like the drums in the background.
Yeah,
Just
well,
a
so
little upbeat there.
That's another one that is in game. That's one that's location based.
Oh, really? Is
Yeah.
that?
So like in Jolly Roger Bay not Jolly Roger. What's the level? Is it Jolly?
I think that's a Banjo
Tooie
thing.
That's magic. Yeah.
What's the first level?
What is it called though? It's Jolly something or
Are we?
It's
even
Jolly
Mario
Rogers.
fans?
Yeah.
Is it
Is it
Jolly?
Bay?
Or is it? Maybe that's just a.
I mean, it's classic, right?
Yeah.
That name. So, but yeah, when you I think it changes. Like, there's certain parts where like you go underwater, even it might become more. But I know for sure, like when you go into the cave where like that hidden treasure is, like the drums start to fade in.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that like Super Mario 64 had like context depend. I know that like
dynamic
Banjo Kazooie does that a lot. That's
Ocarina does it too.
One of the things that Grant Kirkhope excels in, and it's like it's the same thing, but the entire theme changes. This is like it's like a different kind of section of the song, I guess. That's
or like, yeah, because in Banjo Kazooie you go underwater. Like if you go underwater, it's it's got a different version of it versus when you're above water and stuff. Yeah, it's so awesome.
It doesn't work quite as well. I was messing around with it in that the like submarine level, and it doesn't quite. Well, it does in some of the settings, but like it really hits when you're going to that cave for the first time in the first water level, whatever the hell it's called, because
you
it's
seem
like
it is Jolly Roger Bay.
I don't know if I believe you.
No, it is.
I feel like I gotta look this up.
This is true. Am I here? I'm
Jolly
gonna look it up
Roger
right
Bay. I'm getting Jolly Roger Bay. That's
Jolly Roger Bay. Jolly Roger's Lagoon is Banjo Tooie.
Oh, okay.
So now, are you sure? Or are you talking about the dynamic?
I just looked it up.
The dynamic thing is. I mean, I do believe you. I never heard that before. That. I mean that's a very Nintendo thing to do. But
yeah, here, NeoGaf.
Oh, I trust you now.
Notice how the drums start. Okay, I'm owning you right now. I'm just kidding. No, but there's something about it, like you go into this cave and it feels like, oh, I've discovered like this new, even though it's like this, as we saw, this little area where like rocks fall on you. It's like, oh, I've discovered this new little area, and it adds to that sense of wonderment, discovery. Like now it's like, ooh, now we're bopping. Before you were swimming, but now we're bopping. I think it does when you get on the submarine the first time you go to Dire Dire Docks. It does that too. So
Dire Dire Docks is another. That's a great like piano song, like something to learn like on a synth or something. I tried recently trying to learn it, although you have to go like quite a bit up the keyboard to.
It's just like a really big chord, right?
Yeah, I mean you're going from low to high like quite a bit there, so it's not the easiest first thing to learn, but it's a good piano song to learn. It's definitely one of those things that you can impress people with if you know it, because everybody recognizes it.
Oh yeah,
it's very iconic.
That song has kind of transcended like beyond Mario, because like I mean there's so many people who like cover that song on YouTube. Like that's probably the most covered video game song I personally come across on YouTube, is that just different versions of that, right, on any instrument. But in general, no, and it's also very commonly like background music for like different like YouTube videos. Like people like take that song, other songs from the soundtrack too, actually. So like it's kind of probably brought that to new ears too. But I was just gonna say with Dire Dire Dogs, I mean I love that progression. That song has always moved me in a way that like no other game song has. I don't know what, it's just something about that chord progression and that melody tied to it. That descending, it goes down. It's the chords are. I mean, because I can play it on piano, and like the chords are actually pretty simple, like the chord like structure. But this from G to F to E flat, like major 7, I think is what it is. G to F, E flat major 7. But that combination of the 3, and then it cuts back up to the G major. It's just such a almost haunting. It's but not quite. You know what I mean? Like it's I don't know.
I
it's
know
just
exactly what you mean there. Yeah,
it is one of the top.
It's oh my god.
It's one of the top ones like that it really can transport you like back.
It creates such
100%.
a unique feeling that you can't really get from very singularly cultivated vibe with that song. We're coming up with quite an array of different words to just try to capture it, and I think haunting is a great one that sort of pulls you in a pretty unique direction for you, because like you're right, it's not quite haunting, but there's a tiny LaCroix flavoring of haunting in it.
Yes.
In my opinion, this is more just kind of specifically a musical thing, but in my opinion, for me, it's the E flat major 7. That chord, when it goes to that third chord, da 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 da.
Oh yeah,
that one, da da. That one, the lowest chord before it goes back up, is the one that makes it feel, oh, that's a little off. What's going on there? And then it picks back up.
Almost a little jazzy. A
little bit,
a little unexpected.
Like you could see the band that played Bob-omb Battlefield being like, and now we're gonna slow it down a little bit.
That's right. Make sure to tip your waiters.
There's something again.
Tip your toad.
We've hinted on the specific. The specific like that era of like synth sounds. We talked about it in the GoldenEye episode and a little bit in this, but that is one where it's like there is something to that specific piano like synth sound that they play in that melody. It's like I don't know, there's something about like whenever I start messing around on a keyboard, I can't even play piano, but I'm like, what's the closest thing to that? I want to hear that noise.
Right.
You know?
I love the N64's like sound with all of its games, and I'm sure a good chunk of that is just nostalgia, because it's like it's the console I grew up with. But yeah, no, it's very it's like a warm blanket, like use that phrase to describe it. It's very comforting.
It's comforting yet haunting.
Yeah,
it's true.
It's like
exactly
because it's it's not the highest fidelity like sound chip, and that sort of pulling it back gives it a unique sort of flavoring to it. That's very unique to it, and that I feel like that happens a lot. Like I remember I can't remember who which I think was maybe Moss, who was like saying that like the sound chip on the Game Boy Advance, we were talking about like Minish Cap, and he was like making fun of how crunchy it sounded. But that game, I love how crunchy the soundtrack on that is. Like the house theme in particular, that like absolutely like clipping booming bass on that theme. Like I've listened to that song. That's like my favorite version of the house theme because of how like low fidelity the sound chip is on the GBA. It's a real vibe,
I get it.
Even like even with this sound, like I've had conversations in ZD of people like when we're talking about comparing Zelda soundtracks, not to go into Zelda, but it applies to this, where it's like, well, I just can't give anything before like this point that good because of like those MIDI sounds, like, and I'm like, I seek out this sound.
It gives
like,
us
you
so
don't
much,
understand.
exactly.
It gives us so much personality.
Right.
I mean, there's a whole genre of music, chiptunes.
Yeah,
using low fidelity sound chips because it's a unique sound.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this a lot with graphics too, and obviously there's a lot of stuff from the time that maybe isn't up to snuff, but like a lot of just the visuals and sound things of that, like you see people now like making things, like seeking that out, and it's like I think we're gonna hit a time eventually where it's just like it's all different styles. Same thing with like, I don't know, where you might look at like animation or something where there's like all these different ways of approaching the medium. I think,
where it's like intentionally calling back to a style that only existed and was created because of limitations of technology, but now it's like I've seen a lot of like new games that are like super low poly and super like the textures are low res, and that's like a vibe now.
Exactly.
I like it. Like Signalis is I think one of those. I really like the look of that game. But
I mean, McKenna, you come across a lot of that in the indie scene all the time.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I've seen more of that, more like Nintendo 64 era graphics.
Oh yeah, that's definitely big now too. It's like
that's so awesome,
exploding.
Yeah.
I kind of like the more modern when it's like intentionally calling it back to it more than the original graph. I think the N64 games were like absolutely on top of like the art style and like the stylistic design choices they were going with it, but I think the graphics itself have probably aged somewhat the worst in terms of certain consoles.
Yeah, I think depending on the game too, like because I think some people really knew how to optimize it. Obviously,
yeah.
Like
Some
Mario 64,
Mario 64 did a lot better than other games. I feel like Ocarina of Time didn't do it quite as well as Super Mario 64, but
it does feel like with the early stuff with some of the colors, especially when you see it on text, like they just went all out with the colors. But I for like readability reasons, it's been toned down. But I remember playing it Mario 64 for the first time last year. I was like, it looks so cool. I mean, it probably sucks for a lot of people to read, but I love it.
It pops, yeah. It pops.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So it's about time to wrap this up, but we can't go without mentioning the credits, the staff role, which, like I said, I didn't discover till probably later on in my Mario 64 playing life, but
that's another one I would list as like one of my favorite songs. Like that's definitely up there.
This is legit just like a cool, like it's like a slightly upbeat, like almost like pop song almost,
Yeah.
It's just, and it's cool. It's got like it's got these different parts. Sorry, yeah, Alex, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it almost really. This is not saying it doesn't fit, but it almost sounds like it could totally just be its own thing.
Yeah,
like it really does just kind of feel just like a full on song. Like but I think it's really good. Also, another interesting thing. Usually, Koji Kondo puts in the various like motifs and themes and things in the credits music, but he didn't in this. This is a completely original song. But like like for example, like in Ocarina of Time, it has that, right? Other ones he's done. But this one, it's just a completely original song, which I thought was interesting.
It feels like when you're watching a movie and then like the credits come on and it's just like here's this song that we got from this band like to play the credits of the movie, like this tie-in song or something like that. And
it does kind of sound like that.
It's just like it's just so like upbeat and poppy, and it's got these different parts, and it has a key change in it. Like it's written like the structure is so much more like a traditional pop song. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's good. I personally love. I actually add a little bit of. I do think it's upbeat and kind of poppy, like you said, but there's like a bit of melancholy in there too.
Oh, especially like the
it's bittersweet because the game's ending.
Exactly, like you can feel it. He nailed that when he wrote that somehow, especially at the very end of the song, like when it just kind of slows down and it's just the piano, and then it just kind of fades, or it doesn't fade out, but it just ends on that final chord. Yeah, I think it's a little bit of that melancholy too.
Yeah,
I think that's a big reason why it feels more like an actual song, because it has like a beginning and an end. It's not like all the other songs are like meant
Right.
to loop, really. So
Yes.
So
That's true.
the credits themes to in general, I think they feel a bit more songy, but this one in particular,
definitely. Yeah, because it didn't feel like you said, Alex. It didn't move between these parts. It was sort of like its own song, and it just had its own unique structure. And like, I was legit blown away when it like did a key change. Like if I heard it in like a normal song,
Right.
it would be like, oh yeah, but it was just like, I guess you're just expecting. I don't know. I guess I don't know. I wasn't expecting like a looping song in the credits or something, but it just caught me off guard or something. I can't quite describe it.
Mhm.
Like I just thought it was like gonna go to some other thing, and instead it's like, no, it has a breakdown and like a
key change is like a really easy way to like up the how sophisticated your song sounds.
Yeah, that's why I think a lot of times in songs I do it, I'm like, it's almost like a cheat code, and I'm almost like averse to it. But then there's like, it's like 50-50, because then half the times when it happens, I'm like, oh man.
I mean, a key change is something where it's like it cannot work if you don't do it right, but when you do it right, it hits so well.
It hits,
like
yep.
usually like the point of listening to music, I think the point where I get goosebumps the most are the result of a key change.
Yeah, when they really
Because it adds more power, it adds more energy to it. Yeah, it's special.
and you want that for your credits song.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
McKenna, any staff role credits theme straight thoughts?
It definitely sounds like a roll credits, like you're going through a video compilation of the game, because it has like distinct sections that it changes. It flows, but it'll have a different sound for each section. So it's like, okay, you're transitioning to something a little different, but still the same game. Yeah.
Yeah. Like there's something like where you could almost like, well, Alex, you mentioned in your video like of like coming up with lyrics for the songs, but this one I feel like would benefit the most from just like a little jaunty tune about our journey we just went
really
on.
could.
And, yeah.
Yeah. Because once again, that really does feel like the most, I think, just, I guess, normally, I don't use the word loosely, but kind of structured song, like the least video gamey song out of the bunch.
Yeah.
It does just feel like some just like feel good 90s credits roll music or something. Like you could actually see it in like a real movie where it just shows like, where are they now? And it has the pictures of them while the credits are rolling, like it kind of fits that, you know what I mean? Like
Bowser died in prison. No. It's like
Mario went to open up a bakery.
Exactly.
Okay, well, I think, there's probably some little things we didn't hit upon, but I think we pretty much talked about every track in the game and well under 2 hours, so I'm very proud of all of us.
That's good.
It was a fun journey to go on, and
One of the good. I feel like I listened to the Mario 64 soundtrack more than I've played the game, like before playing the game. Like you want to know my relationship to it, but I maybe should have emphasized my relationship to the soundtrack has like always been stronger because it's such a strong soundtrack itself.
I mean, I think most games I really like, I've probably listened to the soundtrack more than I've played the game.
I feel like the soundtrack's reach extends further than the game itself, like in our modern culture, broader video game culture too. Like it's pretty popular.
Some of the best ones, like I think this is one where if you put it on and you had it like, well, I'm sure the soundtrack does this relatively in sort of the order you encounter them in the game, you can almost like relive. You can just like listen to it and like relive your experience with the game. Like it almost like puts you in there. It almost tells its own little like story. I feel that sometimes when I listen to the Ocarina of Time soundtrack,
Oh, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And then okay, now we've hit the adult themes of the dungeon. It's like there's something about
Growing
it.
up.
Right, if you listen in order, it really is kind of like listening, like you're listening through the game, like you're playing through it as you listen. Yeah. Very true.
It's a good feeling. Well,
Mm-hmm.
thank you, Andrew, for joining us.
Thank
on
you
the
for
show.
having me. This has been a fun few days, hanging out and doing this. This is the first podcast I've ever done.
Really?
Like
okay.
ever,
I didn't
so.
even ask. I was just like,
Oh, that's cool.
some backstory that we're giving at the end is that Andrew was in town yesterday, and we ended up hanging out.
Yeah,
and
we went to the zoo, went to a show, and hanging out. We got lunch and stuff. It's very, very fun. I've been meaning to come up and hang out, for a while. So
we're gonna go play more in 64.
Oh,
too,
yeah,
I think.
for sure.
And get ice cream, maybe.
Hell yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Sorry, Alex. Had to rub it in. If you wanted some ice cream.
That's all right.
But
That's all right.
I was like, I guess I didn't even ask. Like, I just assumed everyone knows everything about Mario 64. But
I mean, I know things about
Yeah.
Mario 64.
of course. But I was just like, you're in town. Hey, stay an extra day and come join our pod. And it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm kind of crashing the pod, but
crashing the pod. No, it was good to have you.
No, absolutely not.
And I've got your. You sent me a list of games.
Oh yeah, no, I
Did you?
I mean,
yeah, you did.
Yeah, I did. Like there's more games that I've
Send me
more
more.
directly played. Like obviously the Zelda games, Banjo-Kazooie, even like some more esoteric games that you might find have trouble finding someone to work
We
with.
really need that.
Like Glover and Snowboard Kids. Like those
You'd
are
be
games
surprised
that-
when people have signed up for that. But
Oh yeah,
yeah.
those are great games. But.
Well, I've got you in the spreadsheet, and
Yeah.
we'll be in touch. Obviously. And Alex, do you got anything to promote? I guess
Support your locals.
support your locals. Yeah,
Your local
respect
businesses, your local tournaments, your local gaming scene. Keep everything local.
I'm down with that.
Yeah, be nice to each other, and go check out Alex's YouTube channel. Those videos are great.
Hell yeah.
I pulled up.
Thank you, sir.
Goose sent me the Mario one, and I looked at your channel. I was like, oh wait, I've seen the Zelda one. I clicked on it. I was like, I already had it bookmarked. the Zelda video.
That's
before.
awesome. That means a lot. Thank
But,
you.
Yeah, no.
Oh my god. I'll plug something for you. We've gone so long without even mentioning this. Get in our Discord, the Flashback 64 Discord,
Oh, yeah.
because Andrew, you just got a cat.
I've been touched by the cat distribution system.
Yeah. Oh, and it's
Yeah.
it's an
little guy. I was like coming home late, and
Aw.
the little guy was on my neighbor's porch meowing for food, and I fed him, and now he won't leave. So,
and now you're a cat dad.
yeah, no, it's
That's amazing.
It's the
he's-
sweetest
he's
little kitty.
And I post pictures of him in the Flashback 64 Discord all the time. It's one of the few Discords, like I said, that I actually actively check up on every day. So
We got the Animal Forest chat right by the Gourmet Race chat where you can go see good food, cute cats, and other people's pets too. I don't want to diss anyone
Oh,
else.
yeah,
There's some
yeah.
great pets in there. So, okay, Alex, what we talked about your channel. Is there anything else you want to promote? And also, just thank you so much for coming back on the show. It's been great to have you.
Oh, I love this. I'm a big fan, so I am
Thank you.
happy to do this. I'm a big fan of really all the stuff that you guys are in. I love the ZD stuff, all of it.
Thank you.
But yeah, I nothing really to promote besides really for me. I think VGM Quest. That's the main thing. Just go check out that channel that everyone else has already plugged 800 times, which I'm thankful for. I have more videos coming through the pipeline. I'm in the process, you guys already know, of a move, so it's kind of put some of that on halt for a little bit, but
Understandable.
it's going to expand upon N64. I have some, I'll give some exclusive videos that I'll be doing
okay.
right here on Flashback 64. On the list, one is an N64 game. I'll start with that one because I think it's going to be the least interesting for anyone to hear, which is I love Cruising the World. like that particular game.
Hell yeah. Okay.
And I've heard what you guys said about Cruisin' USA, but we won't get into that right now.
I came at it from
However,
below.
Cruisin' World
Okay.
is a much better game. But the other two games, I want to do the music from the first Sims game.
Oh, right.
And I also want to do, because I loved that game, the first one specifically. And then also Minecraft, can do a Minecraft VGM quest too. So there's some coming down the pipeline. It'll just take a little more time, but they're coming.
That's incredible. We love Minecraft. McKenna and I played together.
I love it.
Pretty frequently, I'd say.
I
Yeah.
have never played Minecraft in my entire life.
You got to get in on our... If either of you want to get in on our little server realm thing, open invite. We'll get you in there.
Dang, yeah, we might talk. That sounds fun.
Hell yeah. McKenna, do you want to... You want to promote anything? We're not good at promoting. I always say this at the end.
I started a Patreon where I'm going to be posting like
you're
little
streaming now too.
blog posts. Yeah, I am streaming at... Is it just McLiz? I think it's just McLiz.
See, we're good at this.
Sometimes I put the number. Sometimes, yeah, I think it's just McLiz. But yeah, I'm going to be posting basically like free blog posts. You know, you don't have to pay to read the blog posts, but doing some fun little projects on there. We'll link it.
Yeah, we'll link it. It's great. And I guess I want to put out there, we got the Discord, but we've been streaming pretty frequently, but we've been trying to stick to at least streaming every Monday at 3:30 p.m. Central. Flashback Mondays. We're going to stick to that. There's some Mondays where we can't. We'll let you know when we can't, but just to give everyone a good idea of when we're doing it. And it's a variety of stuff. We recently played Doom multiplayer with like 8 people co-op playing Doom. We're gonna play Extreme G next Monday of the recording. Minecraft. We've done Minecraft. We're doing a variety of stuff where we're trying to mix in N64, new stuff, old stuff, all that type of stuff. So check out we're twitch.tv/flashback64pod. Just want to throw that out there. So other than that, let's go play some games, get some ice cream, and have a good night. See you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Adios.
As always, we want to give a special shout out to our $5 Millennium Star tier patrons. Thank you, Darren Hupke, Infection Form, Jeremy Aber, Kiefer, Nico Sylvian, Paul aka Quaid, and Underlined V. Thank you so much for your support, and if you are looking to support the show, you can find us over on patreon.com/flashback64.